What is up, ladies and gents? Noli here. Welcome to another Payday 2 video. Today we are looking at the much new and improved Technician skill tree, altered in update 100. I hope you're enjoying these videos and the format I am doing them. Technician, as I said, has been greatly improved and altered in many different ways, particularly in terms of the equipment that comes with this tree in general. You know, you expect shape charges and sentry guns. Now, sentry guns have been massively changed and improved, as you see from the engineer skill tree over here, and that's what it's all about. Starting off, the cost of deploying a sentry gun is reduced to 56%. I'm going to get back to this because we need to understand what it means by the cost of deploying a sentry gun, and to do that we need to have a look in the equipment. So, to use the sentry gun, all that bloody blah, but upon deployment, it will use up 64% of your current equipped weapon's total ammo. So one of the two weapons you're carrying will lose 64% of its overall ammo, and that is how sentry guns now work. With that skill, it was what, 56%, something like that. So it's a reduced cost of placing. It can be destroyed by firing at it as ever, but by picking it up it will be automatically repaired, and remaining sentry gun ammo returns to your total ammo. Pretty awesome. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense, let's be honest. I don't know how, you could be firing shotgun slugs out the sentry gun, but hey, it's just a gameplay mechanic. As it runs out of ammo, it will stop firing, but by redeploying it, it will be reloaded. So they can be destroyed, and when they're destroyed, they will disappear basically forever. But if you're able to pick it up before it is destroyed, you can retain it. And as you'll see from this skill tree, you get a maximum of 4 if you choose to ace out all these skills. So sentry guns can definitely be utilized in a more varied manner. You might think that this ammo usage is a bit of a nerf, but when we get further up the skill tree, we will see that sentry guns are a fair bit more useful when decked out with these technician engineer skills. So if we ace that first skill out, your sentry gun will gain a protective shield as ever, but it's a much lower tier skill. You're going to want to basic both of these out, obviously. Next up, sentry targeting package. So your sentry gun gains an 100% increase in accuracy. Always a bit of an unusual skill. You'd like to imagine that sentry gun is already pretty damn accurate from the get-go. It's AI controlled. But this will basically just mean that it, as far as I can tell, turns faster and shoots at enemies quicker when it becomes in their sights, essentially. So, not the world's most useful skill, but you are going to want to increase the sentry gun's rotation speed by 150%, and you also want that 50% more ammunition. So, that 50% ammunition does not mean you're going to lose more ammunition when you place a sentry down. It's going to be base from the 56% of that weapon ammo it takes. So, immediately you're going to have to waste this one out. You're going to get a common theme here with the sentry guns. If you're running a sentry gun build, you want all these sentry skills. So here we have Eco Sentry. The cost of deploying the sentry gun is reduced further to 48%, so another 8% decrease, and it gains an increase in health by 150%. Now, once upon a time, this would not have been the world's most useful skill, but based on the fact that you want the sentry guns to stay alive because you can pick up and replace them, this is definitely a decent skill, so ace that out completely. Next up we have engineering. You can now select a less noisy version of sentry guns, making them much less likely to be targeted by enemies. This is interesting. It's a choice more so than anything. So, as far as I'm concerned, sentry guns are fantastic as a distraction, and it makes certain builds very viable because the enemies aren't going to focus you and you can essentially get behind them, deal with shields that way. But here is an option to make your sentry gun more of a main player, make it so it's focused less, but can deal with enemies a little easier. And one of the main issues with sentry guns, though there's a skill that will now sort that out, has always been shields. And if shields target the sentry less, it'll be much easier for them to shoot them in the back and get rid of them, and not just waste all the ammo firing straight into a brick wall, essentially. So you're going to want to basic this out, and I'm just going to quickly take a quick look at the suppressed sentry gun. Essentially the same thing. It's just a counterpart to the regular louder sentry gun, as it's more used to take out enemies than the classic distraction. So basically what I just said. But if we look to ace out that technician skill, the engineering skill, you can now toggle AP rounds on your sentry guns, lowering the fire rate by 75%, but increasing the damage by 250%. So a pretty serious increase in damage, and allowing it to pierce through enemies and shields, making it a much better tool for dealing with bulldozers and, of course, your regular shield enemies and, Captain Winter, but sentry guns are not really the primary focus on getting rid of them, but they may be now. I've actually not seen it at work. It could be pretty good with those AP rounds. I love this. Whether it's powerful or not, this sort of thing should have been in the game from the get-go. These sort of decisions that alter your playstyle, both of these skills, massive fan of it, and it was so easy for them to implement, and it functions so well. Next up, we have the Jack of all trades skill. Actually a very interesting skill, very unique. You deploy and interact with all deployables 50% faster, not too bad at all. 3 points though, it feels a little bit like an early skill, but there's a reason why it's all the way up here. So you can now equip a secondary deployable to bring with you. If your deployable is equipped as a secondary deployable, you can only bring half of what you would bring if it was equipped as a primary deployable. So this skill exists as a bit of a replacement that allowed you to run sentry guns with shape charges once upon a time. Now you can run sentry guns with medkits or with ammo bags, most notably. Ammo bags, really, really useful because you're going to be able to constantly refill these sentry guns by picking them up and redeploying them. I feel like that is where this skill exists and excels. But also, like I was sort of getting onto, shape charges you can run alongside some sort of med option, so you can have utility in that you can help with the mission, but you can also have utility in that you can keep your allies alive. I really like the idea behind this skill. I'm not sure whether it's really going to be worth the 8 points, but for right now I am going to try it out. It is unique and will be fun for me to mess around with. And finally, tower defense. Now this is a bit of a no-brainer. If you're a sentry man, you're going to want this ace out, no questions asked. It's going to give you 3 additional sentry guns. Now multiple sentries aren't as useful as they once were because you can now pick up and move the sentry and refill them in the different places where you choose to drop them. But what this is all about is getting a bit of a crossfire. You can already deal with shields easier thanks to the addition of the engineering skill, but an idea of a crossfire is not only going to increase your DPS, it's also going to allow you to make some use of these engineering skills. You could run some with the AP rounds and some without, therefore you're going to be taking out some enemies very quickly and you're going to also be dealing with the armored enemies who are otherwise a problem for sentry guns. I personally feel if you're going for a sentry gun build, that should be your main focus. You should pick up sentry skills and you should also pick up ammo skills to try and keep it replenished and keep those sentries going. So for my, personal recommendation with sentry guns, ace out the entirety of engineer and then start to consider something like ammo specialist or maybe even sharpshooter in the mastermind skill tree. Next up we have breacher, which is all about drills and C4. Hardware expert. This is pretty cool actually. So you fix drills and saws 25% faster. Drills and saws are also silent, so you get that silent drilling very, very early on for just a single point. So stealth builds, this is awesome. The idea behind you not having to shove a load of points in engineer if you're a ghoster has been really well fulfilled here because you only have to put a single point right at the bottom of breacher and hardware expert. But also if you're going for this sort of engineer style of play, I actually think breacher goes nicely with engineering technician. So I do think that you might want to consider acing out hardware expert, giving you a 10% chance for your drills to restart, but there are going to be more skills further up there that do a similar thing. So next up, let's actually look at the drill skill, drill sergeant. Your drill and saw timer is decreased by 15%, and it's an additional 15% if you choose to ace this out. So again, drill utility builds, you're going to want these skills completely aced out. Combat engineering, this is interesting. I'm probably not going to put points in these right now. This is all about trip mines. So if we head on over to the equipment, we can see that trip mines and shape charges are now separate things. So trip mines can now actually effectively be used as bulldozer tools while keeping the utility of shape charges, which is pretty cool if you ask me. So if we take a look here, this is just going to buff the radius of trip mine explosions and trip mine damage. Definitely something you should consider if you're going for that style of build. Remember, you can bring it with Jack of all trades as a secondary utility option. Moving on to the next tier, more firepower, you gain 1 more shape charge and 4 more trip mines. And then you get 2 more shape charges and 7 more trip mines. Again, these are necessary skills if you're going for these trip mine builds. But for right now, I'm actually going to sort of focus on the drill aspects. I think this skill is one of the most interesting ones. I'm going to ace this out immediately. Kickstarter. So your drill and saws gain an additional 20% chance to automatically restart after breaking. I believe that's going to give you a 30% overall. Not too bad. Enables the ability to reset a broken drill or saw with a melee attack if you choose to ace this one out. The ability has a 50% chance to fix the drill or saw, and can only be used once per time the drill or saw is broken. So I think this is really cool. Really good idea. How effective is it really going to be? Not very, very niche, but I like it. I don't think it's worth 9 points, but I'm going to show it off in a future build, so I may as well ace it out over here. Yeah, so obviously melee weapons that swing a little bit faster are going to be better for fixing it, but 50% chance, it's basically going to be a 1 in 2 swing to fix that drill. And yeah, other than that, you can rely on the 30% chance for it to restart. It's certainly going to be making drilling sections considerably more painless and fairly faster. Finally, though, we have another skill that I'm not going to pick up immediately, but do really want to try out. We have Fire Trap. Your trip mines now spread fire around the area of detonation for 10 seconds in a 7.5 meter diameter. So not only do you have the initial explosion, you also have a Molotov-style effect that can, if you ace this out, be increased by a further 10 seconds with an even greater radius of, just over 10 meters. So basically a more powerful Molotov that will be a load of fun to mess around with. Don't forget you can actually bring a fair few trip mines with you these days, thanks to the changes in the way they work, being separate from shape charges. And I can imagine this being really effective for holding down choke points and spawn points for enemies on certain missions, and actually having a serious place in the game, especially mixed with Jack of all trades. Really like this Fire Trap idea. Not going to ace this out over here right now, because like I said, we're just focusing on the drill skills for the Breacher setup. Because I'm imagining more of drills with sentry guns here, I would say, in a sort of fully fledged build. Anyway, next up, let's take a look at Oppressor. There's been a sort of theme, I feel, with all of these, where one of the trees has been more about dealing damage with weapons, and that's what we've got here. Steady Grip starts off by giving you some base improvements to your weapons, which might work nicely on any sort of build if you're looking for those extra 8 weapon accuracy points and 16 points of weapon stability, and it only costs 4 points to do this. Next up, we have Fire Control. You gain 12 weapon accuracy while firing from the hip, and your accuracy penalty is decreased by 20% when shooting while moving. So this is, again, quite an interesting little combat skill that I think can be useful for some sort of SMG shotgun builds that may be worth considering. I'm going to ace this out here. Heavy Impact. Your shots have a 5% chance to stagger all enemies except Bulldozers and Captain Winters. If you ace this out, it's increased by 25%. Okay, so stagger is very, very powerful. It's only a 25% chance to stagger, but I'm going to go back to a really old example in a different RPG. In Skyrim, there is a skill that allows you to stagger with bows, and essentially it's what makes combat bow play in the game an option. Staggering is so powerful. Think about stuns in MOBAs or anything like that. It's always going to be effective. And I think this skill is going to be a real sleeper. I think people aren't going to pay proper attention to it. It's really easy to pick up, and it's going to fit into many, many combat builds and will be worthwhile. So take a look at Heavy Impact if you're looking to sort of spice up your combat gameplay. Surefire is another skill along those sort of lines. Your SMGs, LMGs, and assault rifles gain 15 more bullets in their magazine. This does not affect the lock and load skill we see next to it. Probably should have done this in the opposite order. But if we ace this out, your ranged weapons can now pierce through enemy body armor. Now, I'm going to ace this out, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. Here we have lock and load. You can now hip fire with your weapons while sprinting. So again, some synergy here with fire control. It's going to make your overall gameplay feel a little more fluid, I feel. Now, killing 2 enemies with SMGs, LMGs, assault rifles, or special weapons set on automatic mode will reduce your next reload time by up to 60%. So this is cool. This bonus is reduced by 1% for each bullet above 20 in the total magazine size, down to a minimum of 20% reload time. But Surefire does not affect this. So you're going to want to pick up Surefire Basic alongside Lock and Load if you do choose to ace it out as we're doing here. Now, I feel like this particular skill setup is most effective for something like the Scorpion SMG. Now, the Scorpion can be modified to have 40 rounds in a clip, I believe, or you can run it as 20 with lock and load. Already, it's got increased reload from the SMG skills we picked up earlier. Plus, it's got 15 more bullets in the mag, so it's now up to 35. Plus, when you get 2 kills with it, which you're probably going to do in one clip if you're firing at relatively weak enemies, you're now going to get a 60% reload time bonus, exactly 60%. So this is a big buff to weapons like the Scorpion SMG, if ran without the magazine attachment, which do have some issues with finding yourself reloading all the time, and I'm a big fan of it. Definitely something worth trying out with those fast sort of weapons. Maybe less so with the LMGs. You know, it's going to give you that 20% reload time reduction, but is it really worth putting 9 points in overall? Probably not. Not the LMG skill we are looking for. Surefire, on the other hand, may still work really nicely with LMGs thanks to the body armor piercing. And this is where it gets real interesting. The synergy between Surefire and body expertise is incredible. So, 18.75% of the bonus headshot damage is permanently applied to hitting enemies on the body. The skill is only activated by SMGs, LMGs, assault rifles, or special weapons fired in automatic fire mode. So not sniper rifles, obviously. That would be pretty nutty. That sort of damage multiplier to the body with what is already very high damage could be ridiculously overpowered. But this skill, I feel, is already pretty overpowered. If you ace this out for another 8 points, it's going to give 62.5% of the bonus headshot damage permanently applied to hitting enemies in the body. Okay, so why is this so good? Let's take Cloakers, for instance. Cloakers have a truly ridiculous headshot multiplier. It's very, very high. Now, if you hit a Cloaker with the body expertise skill on, with something like an assault rifle, you're going to get 62.5% of the headshot multiplier on that Cloaker, which is basically going to one-shot every single Cloaker. It's going to make Cloakers trivial, and I hate Cloakers. This is a better counter to Cloakers than Counter-Strike ever was. So this skill is definitely something you're going to want to consider picking up if you hate dealing with Cloakers, but also take bulldozers. Bulldozers are going to get torn apart by things like LMGs now, that they get the headshot multiplier, which is already ridiculously high again for bulldozers, being fired straight into their body. And you might say, well, bulldozers have ridiculous body armor. That's not going to work. Well, with Surefire aced out, body armor is going to be automatically pierced. So this wonderful synergy is going to make some of the more problematic enemies, like the Tans on Overkill and Deathwish, like the Bulldozers and Cloakers on the same difficulties, much, much, much easier to deal with. Basically trivial as far as I'm concerned. I really like it. I personally am a fan of the sharpshooter headshot style of play, so I don't know how often I'm going to use these skills, but definitely if you have trouble hitting the head, or you just want to deal with those enemies a little easier, this is a fantastic pickup. And overall, as you can tell, I think Oppressor is a very powerful skill tree. Honestly, Engineer is one of the more powerful skill tree setups now, I think, in the game. Even these like Shape Charge, C4 skills are worth considering. It was very hard for me to pick skills not to pick up overall, and that's the main reason I didn't go into these Shape Charges. So here is the sort of basic Technician setup. You're obviously going to want some of these staple skills found within all the other skill trees with the remaining 9 points. But I really like it. Great combat effectiveness over here, and fantastic buffs to the Sentry Gun skill tree over in Engineer. Technician, like I said, really powerful now, not what it used to be. Definitely consider it, because you don't have to go into it to get those silly armor skills. Those are actually found where they're meant to be in Enforcer these days. I love these changes. It allows for so much more direct customization, and theming builds is going to be so much easier for me from now on. I hope you've enjoyed the Technician video. Sorry if this one overran a little bit, and I'll see you in the next one, of course, overviewing Ghost, which is a very interesting skill tree now. I'll see you guys then.